Hello. It's been 8 or 9 years since I had a dream that I couldn't forget. It was recurring, and so I decided to write it down. The final result over a 6-year period was Satan's Trilogy. I posted this book on the internet. You can find it at satanstrilogy.com. However, with the advent of YouTube and its popularity, I decided to narrate my story on YouTube, beginning with obviously Book 1, Chapter 1, and each reading will be numbered. This will be reading number 1. I am the author and the narrator. Sit back, relax, and allow the story to unfold. This is Satan's Trilogy. Mary is a nurse at St. Peter's Nursing Home. She works 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., 5 days a week, with weekends off. Overtime is always available, and Mary doesn't mind working 1 or 2 weekends a month. Mary loves her job and enjoys the people she cares for at the nursing home. If she accepts overtime, it is not because she needs the money. She doesn't. Mary has decided to dedicate herself to others, and at the nursing home, she does exactly that, finding great satisfaction in her job. Arriving at St. Peter's Nursing Home 15 minutes before 6 a.m., Mary signs for her medication cart and reviews the morning's prescriptions placed on the cart. All of the medications for the residents are arranged on the cart by the nursing home's pharmacy staff. They arrive at 4 a.m. in order to have the carts ready by the time the nurses arrive. Mary has 24 people to care for. The entire 600 wing of the nursing home is her responsibility. She also must monitor the health and well-being of each resident. With the help of 2 aides, Ruth and Audrey, Mary will provide for the well-being of each resident on her wing. By interacting with the residents throughout the day and by sharing their activities, Mary can observe their health and behaviors. The second shift staff will see that the residents have their evening meal and are ready for sleep by 9 in the evening. It's Friday, and Mary's following her usual morning routine. Her first stop is room 600. "Good morning, John. How are you feeling this morning?" Mary asked. "I feel the same today as I did yesterday at this time, hungry." John's reply didn't surprise Mary. He has a rather angry disposition and seldom offers a smile. John hasn't changed a bit in the year that Mary has known him. "Well, John, we'll all be enjoying breakfast within a short time," Mary replied. "I could smell the bacon cooking in the kitchen as I came in this morning," Mary told him. "This is Friday. We have waffles today. I really believe that we have the best waffles that I have ever eaten." Mary was talking to John while handing him his morning medications, dispensed in a small paper cup. She poured some ice water into another paper cup and handed it to him. John had several medical issues. His heart failed him nearly 2 years ago, and he'd been on medications ever since. A heart transplant might add a few years to John's life if he survived the surgery. John's age caused him to be low on the waiting list for a heart transplant. It was unlikely to happen. "Mary, you are right. The waffles are great. I just never get enough of them to satisfy me," John grumbled. "Well, John, that's because I have told all of the help you are on a restricted diet, and you cannot have an unlimited number of waffles, as much as that might sound good to you. You have to watch your calories. You could eat yourself into an early grave, and then who would I have to talk to in the afternoon about baseball?" Mary chuckled as the words came from her mouth. "Bullshit," John said. "You don't know crap about baseball, and I'll never live long enough to teach you anything about it either." John was a retired major league umpire. He had worked as an umpire for over 25 years and was in love with the sport. After 1 year of teaching physical education, John decided to follow his dream to become a major league umpire. John had never married. Perhaps traveling on the road and being away from home 9 months of the year prevented him from developing a lasting relationship with someone. Off to one side of John's bed was a very nice television he had brought with him. Cable was provided, and the residents were able to purchase any premium channels they chose to view. John always signed up for baseball's closed-circuit viewing. Mary liked John and didn't mind his gruff ways. She knew that John had a big heart, even if he chose to hide it. "John, no one person has the knowledge that you do about baseball. I'm convinced of that. That's why you are so interesting. I want to learn from the best." Mary laughed as she moved on to the next room. As Mary left, she said, "John, I'll see you at breakfast. Maybe I can steal you an extra waffle if you promise not to tell Ariel." Ariel is Mary's supervisor, and she is a stickler for following rules. She especially wants everyone's diet followed to the letter. Tall, thin, and her graying hair pulled back into a bun, Ariel is a perfect poster child for a spinster. Her heavy black leather shoes with a 2-inch heel announce her arrival long before you can see her. Ariel watches the nurses closely, hoping to keep them from being too lenient with the residents. Ariel is dedicated to her job and the nursing home residents. She simply finds it difficult to bend the rules. The next room is occupied by 2 very special residents, Eve and Anne. Eve is fighting a battle with cancer, and unfortunately, her doctors have told her the treatments did not work against the cancer. Eve does not have much time left, maybe months and possibly weeks. Mary and Eve have become very close friends. Anne, Eve's roommate, is in a coma. She has never awakened from a car accident she suffered nearly 6 months earlier. The doctors believe that Anne will pass away within several weeks, if not much sooner. Her brain activity is nearly flat, and her vital organs are beginning to fail. The family has agreed to let her pass in peace. All of Anne's injuries from the accident were to her brain. Her car was rammed and pushed into a concrete pillar. The car stopped so fast that Anne's brain was shaken inside of her skull. Her type of injury is common in car accidents and is often fatal. Looking into the room, Mary could see that Eve was up and awake. "Good morning, Eve. How did you sleep last night?" Mary was genuinely concerned. She and Eve had grown close in a very short time. Eve had been a very well-respected schoolteacher, and she would entertain Mary for hours with amusing stories about her many students and the mischief they created over the years. Turning her head towards the door, Eve was pleased to see Mary's face. "Hi, Mary. It's such a delight to see your smiling face in the morning." Then Eve answered Mary's question. "I slept pretty good last night. I think I only woke up once, and the evening nurse gave me something for my pain." Eve tried to sound upbeat, but her voice had weakened over the last few weeks, and her body was losing its strength. Once a strong woman, Eve was now frail, weighing just over 100 pounds. Her pale, narrow face seemed dwarfed by the golden, wire-framed glasses she had chosen to wear most of her life. "Well, it looks like you have nearly beaten everyone on this floor in getting dressed." Mary was smiling at Eve. "Would you like a little help in finishing up?" Eve was nearly exhausted and welcomed the suggestion. "You know, Mary, maybe today I could use a little help in getting ready for breakfast." Eve sat back down on the edge of her bed. She had already removed her pajamas and was attempting to button up her short-sleeve blouse. It was a light yellow satin material with a colorful pattern of pansies on it. Eve would also need her sweater. She often became chilled. Her thin body lost its heat easily. Eve had several wonderful sweaters to choose from, but today she had already laid out the off-white sweater made from heavy wool and yarn. It would look nice with her blouse and keep her warm throughout the day. "Just sit right there, Eve. I'll see if Ruth is free to help you." With that said, Mary stuck her head back into the hallway and called Ruth over. Mary asked Ruth if she could help Eve finish dressing. Ruth happily agreed, but it would be a few minutes. Mary came back into the room. "Eve, just sit right there. Ruth will be in here before you know it. I bet you will still beat most of the men to the dining room, with the possible exception, of your neighbor John. I have already reminded him we're having waffles for breakfast, and I know that got him moving." Mary laughed, then added, "John loves to eat. I guess it's a good thing we have such great cooks." Eve chuckled at the thought of John hurrying to breakfast. Mary was standing by Eve and gave her a hug. "I'll see you at breakfast, Eve." Mary pushed her cart out into the hallway and down to the next room. Eve's roommate received her medications intravenously. Mary would return later to change the saline bag and to help give her a bath. Nurses were not allowed to help residents dress or move about while dispensing medications. It was important to keep watch of the dispensing cart at all times. A patient had nearly died a year earlier when they helped themselves to a handful of medications off a cart. Fortunately, the nurse noticed the missing drugs and was able to prevent the patient from swallowing all of them. A short hospital visit was necessary to pump out the resident's stomach. The nursing home had managed to avoid a lawsuit, but a lesson had been learned. From that point on, nurses were not allowed to leave the site of their dispensing carts. Most rooms had 2 residents. They would share one bathroom, and each resident had a closet and dresser along with a comfort chair of their own. If needed, a curtain could be drawn between the 2 residents for privacy. Should a bed become vacant for any reason, it was usually filled by a new resident in a matter of days. The waiting list for St. Peter's nursing home was very long. Some people waited several years for a residency. Mary entered the next room and found Monica dressed and ready to go to breakfast. Monica knew after taking her medications she could start the walk to the dining room. With the help of a walker, she made excellent time getting to the dining room. Monica is an alcoholic, and her body has suffered from years of abuse. She is only 5 feet tall and less than 100 pounds, but she still has spirit, and on her good days, she loves to be the first to breakfast. This way, she can watch the tables being prepared, along with all of the preparations to serve the meals. This was entertaining to Monica. She had been a waitress most of her life and had thoroughly enjoyed her job. The tips were always good, Monica would say, but their retirement sucked. Fortunately, Monica has a brother capable of providing for his sister's care. Monica took her pills and was off to breakfast, straightening her black wig and checking her red lipstick with the compact mirror she kept in her pocket. Monica grabbed her walker and was off. As Monica left, she mumbled to Mary, "Rita wouldn't get up this morning. I told her that you'd be mad, but she didn't move." Monica's voice trailed as she went off to the dining room. She was making good time this morning with her walker. "Rita, you need to get up for breakfast." Mary turned to Rita's bed, and as she focused on Rita's body, there was no movement. Walking closer to Rita's bed, Mary asked, "Would you like me to ask Audrey to help you dress this morning?" However, no sooner had she spoken the words, Mary realized that Rita had passed away in her sleep. The bed was still, and Mary could tell that Rita had been gone for at least several hours, if not more. This always took Mary by surprise. The people she knew and loved leaving without saying goodbye. Mary was never prepared for the loss of someone on her wing. Working in a nursing home meant finding residents passed away in their beds. This was common. Mary usually found one resident every 5 or 6 months, having passed away during the night. Mortality was high for the residents of the nursing home. Many of the residents arrived knowing they would receive the best care during the remaining time they had, but most understood their health was failing. The average resident would live at St. Peter's nursing home for less than 2 years. The majority of the residents had family that insisted on providing for their care. Staying at St. Peter's was very expensive. The nursing home had the highest recommendations in the state, with an excellent reputation for providing the best care possible. St. Peter's was the first choice for those that could afford it. A sense of family quickly developed at the nursing home among the residents. They not only shared old age, but they all shared a reality that their lives might soon come to an end. For the most part, all were happy. The nursing home was giving them an extended family, a group of friends that shared many things. There were few generation gaps among the old. The environment and the quality of the care given at St. Peter's Nursing Home always met the expectations of the residents and their families. Mary pulled Rita's blanket up and over her head. She then went to the doorway to find Audrey. Spotting her at the end of the hall, Mary motioned to her. Audrey sensed that she was needed and immediately came. Quietly, Mary informed Audrey, "We lost Rita last night. Will you go to the front desk and ask them to tell Luke he is needed at room 610? If you hurry back, I'll finish my rounds while you stay with Rita until Luke arrives." Mary and Audrey both knew their roles in handling the situation. They tried not to draw attention to what had happened. A loss of a friend could pull some of the residents into an immediate state of depression that served no purpose. It was best to let people find out slowly, and delaying the news seemed to work better for most residents. It was easier for some people to accept the death of someone they knew if it happened last week versus this morning. You cannot control what happened last week, but knowing you lost a friend this very day, the heart does not want to accept it, and so grief takes hold. All right, that's the end of reading 1. Hope you enjoyed it. And so until the next time, please take care and be safe.